All right, it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood here in the North Florida area, and it's been a great, fantastic high school football season so far. But man, we got the second half of the season up on deck. It's week number 6 here in the North Florida area. Week number 5 was a good one, but we got plenty of scores already broken down here for everyone from across, man, from Lake City all the way back to the Emerald Coast. We got your matchups right here. This is the Extra Point Podcast. We're talking high school football here on the I-10 corridor. I'm Mark Adams, and I got my gang with me, Coach Cofield and Andrew Jupe. It's going to be a great week number 6, guys, but we got to rewind back to week number 5. It was pretty interesting. I think we only saw one unbeaten go down.
Oh, really? Wait a minute. I got to keep up with who was unbeaten. Who was that? Jupe, I know you know. You're the numbers guy.
I think we had one undefeated go down.
Who was that?
Let me double check.
You mean you're not talking about Bay, do you?
I think they were the one. I think they were the team.
That was a surprise and not a surprise. They got beat by somebody that's always knocking off big schools. And, Madison taking it to them and had to come from behind to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know at least me personally, we were talking about how it's going to be tough for Madison, and we were kind of sowing the narrative. Well, I don't want to bring everybody else into this, into my problems, but I want to own this is, I was kind of jumping off the ship, and I think Madison reminded us just who they are and how dangerous they are. Great response for them. And, when you look at the playoff points, and which came out this week, by the way, which I'm sure we'll get to
talk about that in a second.
Just enough to get the ball rolling, but just as soon as you doubt them, and the old adage, and I violated my own rule, gang, is bet against Madison, and when you bet against Madison, you get burned, and got burned last week, and I was starting to jump off the ship, but they are who we thought they were, and going back to the beginning of the season, Madison's going to keep fighting, and a great win. That's an awesome Bay team that they took down last week, and what was a thriller. They couldn't just do it in 4 quarters, gang. Needed number 5.
It was a surprise to me. I thought I thought Bay was going to take care of business, and I guess the old Cowboys reared their ugly heads up again, say we not going, we still here, we can still fight.
Yeah, they did put in business, Coach. They hit their 40 hours, but the thing, Madison wanted to go 50 hours. They put a little extra work in to get it done.
Yeah.
The overtime factor in that game was something that we definitely gonna have to keep that one on deck as we discuss things. But man, the FHSAA rankings came out today. Was it yesterday? Yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
Tuesday.
And yeah, some surprises in there. I definitely have to ask some questions, but man, it is pretty. I would say it's pretty daunting to just try and go through some of the classifications. Just looking at, I just sorted the table. I'm now into 2A right now, and right now, just same familiar faces are leading the pack. We got some surprises in there too. McClay, your McClay Marauders are the number 50th team in the state right now.
You say what?
The McClay Marauders are the number 50th team in the state.
Is that all classifications?
All classifications.
Okay. I thought you were trying to say they was 50 in the division classifications. Like something's wrong with that.
They are the 5th ranked team in Class 1A right now.
Who's number 1?
I believe that's St. Andrews out of Boca.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's pretty wild. I mean, and this is what's funny about this stage. The next 2-3 weeks is going to be so volatile. It's wild. So we should see a lot of movement every classification because we haven't really gotten a district play. So all the schedules are so fragmented. And, we talk about like the butterfly effect. Once you bring in these district teams, all the other opponents of the opponents of the opponents, which all factor into this maddening equation that we all love so much and we celebrate on a weekly basis for about 7 weeks a year. And so this is all going to kind of get ironed out a little bit. But the first couple ones are always really fun. You'll see a ton of movement. But if playoffs started today, Maclay, home field advantage throughout, that would be
Yeah,
awesome. Selfishly, for the 4 quarters online franchise, for what
right.
it will.
We
just
want them
just
to be.
because you know,
We hope
I
they
am
home.
I still have there's just so much mystery in how this formula is working. Um, one of these days we're gonna have to write a book on how just how the layers get peeled back on this thing. But yeah, it's definitely been a pretty interesting. Um, and I guess the experiment now is going on what, like 5 years since they
Oh,
have implemented maybe
Ish. Yeah,
COVID.
ever since, yeah, I guess like, because this is technically what, gang, iteration 3 of the point system, the
Yeah,
like the third different version, because remember they had like that playoff component in the first iteration, which was an absolute nightmare to track, which I thought had a good idea to it, but as far as it played out, it was kind of problematic. But yeah, this is iteration number 3, and yeah, I think about 5 years deep. But overall, what are we, about 8, 9, 10? I think overall for the points. Time flies.
yeah. It's
I
a
don't
it's
know.
a weird system to say the least. But once again, the FHSA rankings are up as of Tuesday. That's the first iteration. Um, and yeah, we'll see what shakes out in the next weeks to come. But it is definitely going to be it's going to be a pretty wild ride. Hang on, don't lose your feathers over it. It'll all work itself out in the end. It always does. But yeah, it's gonna get plenty of people to talk about because McClay is ahead of a lot of teams, and that's just gonna make for just interesting talking points. But yeah, as we move into week number 6, man, can you believe it? Like, we always do this, but it amazes me how the season just flies by.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and
It's
jump into week number 6. Go ahead.
There was some surprises last week also, other than McClay. I'm sorry, not McClay, but Madison. Um, I didn't think they could go and play with Bay, but they did. And I was kind of surprised how Florida High just manhandled South Walton. Um, that was a surprise to me also, but I didn't realize Florida High was missing some players, and they got players back. Quarterback came back, and I think it was like 3 key players that came back that week, and it made a big difference.
Yeah, look at Kyler Hall got the first victory, beating up on Hamilton, and then of course Sneeze and Bozeman. That was a thriller. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Florida High 34, South Walton 14. Seminoles, man, I think they were due. I just think they were due on this one.
Mark, they got their quarterback back. The starting quarterback came and he threw like 3, I think it was 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was slinging the ball all over the field, and South Walton had no answer. Uh, I don't think they was expecting what they got, and they really, Florida High really played a tough game, and they played tough defense. They they uh they they didn't allow them in the end zone until late. They got a touchdown on the first drive, and then they struggled the whole game, and then late they got the second touchdown. But Florida High, I mean, they win it. They manhandled South Walton, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was looking good. That's what. Oh, sorry, Mark, you got it.
no, go ahead, Jude.
I was gonna say that's what happens when you get healthy. I always think of the season as kind of a topsy turvy ocean, gang, and so you got to have a pirate ship to be able to navigate these waters. And so every good pirate ship has some cannons, and Cannon Cowie balled out, like you said, Coach. 4 touchdowns. Welcome back, and looks like a little smoother seas ahead for Florida High. And kind of to Mark's point, when they bring it back to defense, that was kind of the big bad unit last year and how mean that front seven was. And so if we're shaping up and kind of going down the stretch with, Coach Harley always has the boys ready on that defensive side towards the end of the season. If we're trending and we're trending there healthy, look out. This is a team that you look at earlier in the season, the big result that we talked about. And then obviously, they're going to be floating around 500 because of the strength of schedule they usually do. But the points are going to be up. You're going to have to come through the shack at some point in the playoffs, and they're going to be a team ready for the postseason. But I'm looking forward to it. And you see the dividends here coming back early when you get healthy, how much of a game changer it is.
Yeah, look at the 20-point second quarter by the Knowles. That was almost. I think that's been more than what they've been able to do in their past 2 or 3 games in any given half. Just when you get your quarterback back, man, everything seems to just click. Like you're on the same page again. Guys who are playing around in the offensive unit just seem to get their confidence up, and it was just evident uh, looking at how they perform. And man, 20 or 28 for 287, that and 4 touchdowns. That's getting the job done.
It was a good game. With the way Southwell started off, they just drove right down the field and looked like Florida High said, "Not today. No, no, no. We got this." And they took over the game, and they really never looked back.
And then Michael Jones stepped up with 71 on the ground. This team is still, in my opinion, Florida High is still figuring out a lot of things. And I don't know if we're going to really see what we saw in the first half going through the back end stretch of the season as we go into week number 6. I think this team has yet to play their best football, and I think we'll see a more dangerous Florida High team on the backside than we have in the first 5 games. But it's been, to me, it's just been one of those where it's just like you look at how each one of these teams has been that coach Hickman has had. Each one of these teams has been built to play 12, 13, 14, 15 games during the season. So, yeah, no stranger to adversity, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of team Florida High turns into come playoff time.
Yeah. And how about Jason Harville? Shout out to the defense. Middle linebacker flying around last week in this game. I think it was 15 tackles, 4 or 5 TFLs, couple sacks. It was.
He was in the backfield because I had a chance to look. He was in their backfield all evening long, all night.
Number 10. A lot of number 10 in the backfield for sure. Yeah.
And I think it was Berger that also chipped in on the defense, also had 9 tackles, 3 for a loss. But I think he also had a pair of sacks too, as well. Mm-hmm. So that was a monster night. So I look for the same Florida High defense to show up again. They've got Childs coming up, and then I think they've got a real tough matchup against Madison coming up, who also looked like a different team this past week as well. But Florida High, big winner over South Walton, 34-14. Moving on, Madison County and Bay. This was the one that went into overtime. 41-35, Cowboys take it. And this one could have gone either way, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, I was keeping up with the score. And I was surprised that Madison was down going into the fourth quarter, came back and tied the game up, and was down and got it in overtime. And I don't even think Bay scored in overtime. So those Cowboys doing what the Cowboys do. They win, and they don't care where they go. They don't care who they play. You got to bring your A game. You got to play the whole 48 minutes to be successful against them. You got to bring your A game when you play them. Don't worry about the record. Just play ball.
There you go. And it was back and forth the whole game. Heavyweight fight, exactly what you kind of hope it to be. 21-20, I think it was at halftime. And then you just had a kind of rock star performance from Crumity. And you wonder how much for the upperclassmen is just willing this thing forward. And it's like, no, guys, the rush game will work. We will do this. And sometimes those big-time players step up in those big-time moments and just seemed like a lot of big-time moments for Crumity. I think it was, 5 combined touchdowns? So 5 of the 6, 4 on the ground, 1 in the air.
Man.
But they gave him a battle start to finish, regardless of who was quarterback, JDV or, of course, Morgan.
It felt like a classic matchup. Like these teams, they were very evenly matched. I know it's not the highlight with the offensive showcase that was put up, but man, Madison's defensive front, man, they fought so. In my opinion, they were the catalyst that allowed them to come back. They got Bay off the field in some critical third downs where they needed to. To me, that's where my game ball goes, is the Madison defense, especially that front 5. They really, in my opinion, I think they really just kind of put Bay on their heels just 1 or 2 times, and that allowed them to kind of take advantage. Nothing to take away from the Tornadoes. I just felt like, Madison, that was probably their coming out party more than anything.
Good game, though, man. That's kind you want in the middle of the season, and it prepares both teams for the playoffs. You get a good matchup where you just, you're blowing people out, then you get out there and you got to go play a whole 4 quarters and then some to win. It helps you in the playoffs. Your players know what they're going to face. You're going to face pretty even teams in the playoffs, so you gotta play good. You gotta execute. You gotta make plays. And if you want to win, if you want to advance, and playing somebody like this, both of these teams, I think it's a benefit.
You can see the amount of offense put up by either team. I think Bay was, if I'm not mistaken, I think Bay had, let's see if I can. Yeah, Bay had 434 yards of total offense during the game, which is not a bad night. Madison had 352. Like, that's not a bad night at all, in my opinion. Most times that would get you the
dub. With some of them games, I struggled.
Mark's been playing too much Madden. Yeah.
I felt like we were cheating just a little bit. Like, a couple of 100 more yards, it probably would have been on an average night for them. But no, I think that Bay's offense, honestly, for what they've been able to do in the short turnaround, going from where they were last season, working through the summer, this has been the kind of emergence of this is how you expect your team to perform, even against your best opponents. And Madison, of course, is still Madison. Not that we don't play the games for any reason, but their record is still a little bit not what we're used to seeing. But this is one of those where Madison is going to do what Madison does, and I think that their defense really to be the difference maker in more ways than one. There was still a lot of I do feel like, man, there were a couple of drives where Madison could have gone ahead, but a couple of drop passes here and there down the stretch. But man, probably one of the most entertaining games we've had this year thus far.
For sure. And shout out to Bay too, because Bay is tough. And I think this kind of goes under the radar a little bit, but they don't have a lot of tendencies that you can take away. And they're so balanced kind of top to bottom. I think they had 50-something offensive plays, almost identical pass and run. And then you look at it and you spread out, you look at their season play call. I think they're somewhere around 300 plays, almost identical to the play on the pass run split. So they're not relying on every single thing. They have little pieces that kind of make it up. And then you kind of see that defensively as well, especially with the back end of the defense and being able to play strongly. But yeah, the offense is just tough with a team that's so balanced and has productivity on both sides, because you try to take something away and then you got the other thing that you got to worry about. Then you try to take that away, but now we're just on a seesaw.
Yeah, that's if you can play balanced football on offense, you keep the defense on his heels. So this was an interesting game, and And both of these teams, man, I expect to see them make runs in the playoff. They're very well coached and play hard. That's all you can expect.
Other scores, Godby and Childs, and this one, for the most part, I look at it as Godby was really waiting for this one. It just seemed like they were chomping at the bit. The offense clicked in a way where they were able to just kind of put together a complete game. Defense didn't let them down in the end, and Childs, I think they just got into a track meet with Godby and just got outran. Cougars take it 35-17, and for Coach Holston, this is kind of what he was talking about. We spoke to him in the week prior, and he was just very much like, man, if this team can put together complete game, if we're not stumbling with mistakes and penalties and things of that nature, this is what we can expect. So I do think that Childs definitely they were able to have some success on the ground, but it was not what they had experienced in weeks prior. For the most part, this game, I think you look at how the schedule matches up. Just Childs is actually getting ready to get underway right now. With their week number 6 game. But this is one of those where, like, sometimes the shot in the arm, galvanizes you for the remainder of the season. And for Godby, this could be the turning point that actually gets them back to where they feel like they could be by season's end.
Yeah, I think I watched this game on and off, and I was kind of surprised. Childs has been running the football on everybody, and they pretty much did it the way they wanted. This game, it was a little bit of a struggle to get in the end zone. And Godby played some solid football, got the lead, and kind of never looked back.
Yeah, for sure. And you really saw the kind of defense step up for Godby. To your point, Mark, the offense has been coming to the table strong, but the turnovers that they were able to generate, I think they picked off G5 3 times. I think Simmons got one, and the DBs were making it really, really tough on these wide receivers for Childs, and they really made that a point of emphasis. I think the week before you saw that on film and kind of how they ran wild. So to Coach's point, they still got it going in the running game, did Childs. I think they were over 250 yards rushing, balanced attack with Cadet and the usual crew there. But the Godby defense able to generate in some of those turnovers. And now all of a sudden, Godby a couple wins in a row here, Mark. We had the big district win. We got another district contest coming up this week. Having some momentum going here. If we're going back to those juice rankings that we like to talk about, right? Godby's got the juice right now. And though the record's not hot, I'm not lining up to play Godby right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, the schedule still looks tough for them. At Baker, at Niceville, then Wakulla, then at Lincoln, and at Dothan to finish out the year. It's not going to be an easy out, but I do think that they can compete with every team that they're matched up against. It's just how can they hold up for 4 quarters. And looking at how what the offense was able to do, 28-point second quarter was really all that they needed to outlast Childs. But man, Dougherty didn't have to do that much. 8 of 13 for 141 yards and a pair of TDs. It really was kind of light work on the evening for him because defense was just outstanding, in my opinion. And anytime your defense can get in on the action, especially making the other quarterback's life miserable, you're doing something good. You can definitely see where I think they had a pair of turnovers at one point. I don't know if they listed them. No, I don't see them listed, but the way I think they definitely had a pair of turnovers that kind of prove to kind of solidify their first half and really kind of like shut the door on Childs. A lot of what and really just defensively, they're very opportunistic. I can see where they make flashes of great plays, but this has been the first complete game I think they've played all year.
Go ahead.
You.
He talking about Godby, right? We're talking about Godby?
Yeah.
Mark.
We're talking about Godby.
Is that the first complete game they had? Is
Felt
that
like
what
it.
that was your? You did? Oh, okay. Watching part of this, it was. I, I agree with you. The defense played pretty good, which is what they were lacking to me in a lot of the games. They always on their heels playing defense. And they came out and shut a team that had a lot of momentum, which was Charles. They shut them down and kept them out of the end zone. They got the 2 touchdowns in the second quarter, and they struggled the rest of the game.
Yeah, and you talk about complete game, Mark. I think they scored on all three phases of the ball. I think you had the pick six by Anderson, and then
Yep.
you had the Bunyan ran the was the punt. I forget, it was a special teams touchdown. It was either punt or kickoff back for a touchdown as well. So they look ready for prime time. And when you can score on all sides of the ball, you're doing something right.
Yeah, your defense scoring just it takes so much pressure off your offense because now you have put the team really you have put the other team really into a box. You've taken away maybe the running game or their passing element, and you just kind of make it one dimensional for them. Other scores from around the area keeping it moving. Leon, big winner over Port St. Joe 21-13. And, for the Lions, I felt like this was a must win. Sometimes you have games where, even if it's on the road, doesn't matter who the opponent is. I felt like this was one of those where not that the season was on the line, but it just had a must win kind of atmosphere. And they really were back. I don't know if they were quite back and forth. I need to check that again. But nonetheless, Lions now sitting at 500, 2-2 on the year. And in a lot of ways, this kind of like changes the trajectory of your season.
It looked like the defense showed up, Mark. Only giving up 13 points and at someone else's place, and the offense scored 3 touchdowns. Man, that you can see progress with the Lions. They're getting better as the season goes, and they could easily be 3-1 after with the game they lost to Bozeman in the last part of it. So this, Coach Bell seemed like he got his guys headed in the right direction, and got some tough games ahead of him. But hey, you got to win the ones you can win.
Yeah,
now I don't know if this is right, but Randon Manusa had, I think he had like 19 tackles. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I'm not sure if it's correct. I'm not sure. I ain't trying to put nobody on Leon coaching staff on the spot, but I would like to know if this is confirmed or not. 2 tackles for a loss, 3 assists, 19 solo.
Solos? Wow.
Yeah.
19
That's
solo. Yeah, 22
Man, that means-
total.
19 solos? That's wow.
He never left the field. Like he was tired. He already had 11 tackles when he got off the bus.
Well, if the namesake is anything for you, Mark, of course the land real estate ties there. So he was just eating up all kinds of land. It's just in the blood, Mark. That's how it goes. But yeah, I think this says more about Port St. Joe to me than it does Leon, gang. We talked about Port St. Joe's defense, and Mark, I think you called it last week that you said it was going to be a one-score game, which it was. Yeah. But I think effectively when you're, I granted it's a tough place to play, and we like their defense, but this is a rural school going against a 5A club, gang. The depth between these two squads, and I think to me says a lot about Port St. Joe that they hung with them all the way to the brink. And then you start to see on the offensive side, Eli Harris get some things going, which we've saw starting, even from last year, right? Translating into this year really well. And so I think this is a strong Port St. Joe team that may be flying under some people's radar coming in at 2-2, where in years past we may see them more 4-0, 3-1 at this point.
Yeah, I don't think the Sharks have anything to hang their heads about. You win against 5A school toe to toe, and arguably, it's one of those things where I do think a couple of those third downs, I know Coach Jones would like to have back. You always want to kind of get the upset over a bigger opponent, but But to be able to, still have everything in front of you, um, I think is still kind of the win that I would take away from it is that, like, okay, we went, played a 5A school, we ran with them for most of the game, and we still got, the rest of the season in front of us. Everybody's healthy. I think that's kind of the best, possible outcome if you have to take the L, is that at least you're walking away with the experience, and come playoff time, it will serve them pretty well. Let's keep it rolling. Sneeds edges Bozeman 20-19, and that one, to me, I think it really put a lot of respect on Coach Thomas's group. Just really kind of wondering what kind of team is this. I haven't really gotten down into uh, their panhandle play just yet, but man, a great victory against Bozeman really kind of says a lot about their team, and I really feel like Sneeze has a really really good offense. But this one, I think the defense stepped up. I don't. The average is that if you can keep teams under a certain point, like you're gonna win like at least 60 or 70% of your games. But Sneeze, their defense has been averaging about that. They've been holding teams, keeping them out of the end zone, getting them off the field on third down. And this is in my opinion, this is probably one of their biggest wins on the year so far.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Thomas this weekend. He felt like they left about three. They left three touchdowns on the field. They got inside the red zone three times and didn't get any points out of it. Turned the ball over in the red zone and goal line area, and he was kind of disappointed with the execution. Glad they won the game, but thought they could have done a lot better, and they didn't think the game should have been that close, according to how they played.
That's dangerous to me. Of course, known for a physical ball club, and there's a reason why Coach Thomas has been there so long. You can't stay somewhere without results, and they got it going on right now. And they're undefeated in the state of Florida, for what it's worth. And Sneeds is gonna be a tough out for sure. But physicality and a good run game. I got Pius Reed over there taking care of business, averaging over 6 yards a carry, and breed some success over there out west.
Yeah, they were just methodical, in my opinion. I can see where they did leave some points, but being able to, like, in my opinion, being able to just convert on drives just seems to be kind of their calling card right now. Scott didn't have a very busy night, 3 of 8, 55 yards, but it was enough to get his guys in the end zone. Tyran Thomas had a pair, along with I think it was, you talking about Pius Reed. He had a receiving touchdown as well. But yeah, no, it's just good old fashioned panhandle football. It wasn't anything fancy. I just think that, for Sneeze to be at this point, especially where they were at last season, this is a team that definitely, a lot of those younger guys have grown up a little bit, understand the system a little bit better, and it's starting to show. For Sneeze, I definitely think their schedule, there's a couple of games on there, but their schedule looks pretty doable. They've got a major contest coming up against Bluntstown, but in between, on either side, they've got Liberty County, Jefferson County, Life Point Christian, and then North Bay Haven. So Sneeze definitely, they've got the opportunity there to really take advantage. Bluntstown is Bluntstown. Not really a whole lot you can do about that, but the rest of the schedule looks very favorable for them.
Absolutely. And I think that light passing work is kind of right where they want to be, Mark. They say, hey, if we can throw it 5 to 8 times a game, that's a sweet spot. We'll run it 45, 50 times. And I think that's a common recipe we see out there in Pirateville.
All right, let's round it out. This one I had my eyes on because of just the names. But Columbia outlasts Trinity Christian out of Jacksonville 27-20. Conquerors are not the same Conquerors of old that we remember, but still got a few playmakers on there. But man, I think it's more so about Columbia being at 5-0 for the first time in a minute. And the Tigers have pretty stout defense, but man, they've got a tall order coming up. They go on the road to take on St. Augie Dog and St. Augustine, and man, that's going to be a tough matchup. But man, it's great when you 5-0. The school hallways are alive. Everybody's excited. There's nothing like being undefeated.
Yeah, I think the Lake City Columbia is having a great season. Started off with a big victory over there, big robbery with Swanee, and now they 5-0. Trinity Christian uses a tough out. They've always had great teams, and they look like they're struggling a little bit this year. And I think that Coach Allen with his crew, they play tough defense and they play just enough offense. And I think that's a good formula to be consistent into winning.
Yeah, they got it going on. But I think Trinity Christian to this point may have the hardest schedule in the state. You look at their 4 losses. I think those teams are a combined, if I'm not mistaken, 11-1. And the only loss within that group was to St. Augustine, who you just referenced, Mark, and talking about one of the best teams in the state. So Columbia, big win to stay perfect. And they gave Trinity Christian a loss, and they're still undefeated, which is a pretty common theme. And you talk about the heavy hitters that Trinity Christian has lost to: Bowles, Columbia now, Reigns, and then there's one more. I think it's Ed White, who's also still, I believe, undefeated. So some heavy hitters out there that they dropped to, but Columbia's got it going on right now. And we're starting to see something in Tiger Town we haven't seen in a minute.
Good. I'm glad for them. Playing Trinity is the curse of being a successful program. You're not going to get any easy games. You're going to have to play hard. You're going to have to play up. You're going to have to play tough programs, because the teams that are midway or below average, they're not going to put you on their schedules they can help. And so, they used to. It's always been that way with Trinity. I mean, I think they won like 5 or 6 state titles. I mean, it's a successful program, and like you said, it doesn't get any easier. you got one loss in all teams you played. It's tough. Hey, they're used to it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. They can't hide, Coach. This is a district game. They got them in the same district now, so there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, good to see. I know Collins was talked about having or either playing through injury here lately, but good to see him. He's either soldiering on or he's feeling better. I don't have 100% clarification on that, but the captain lead the ship.
So something must be going on there. But still, 10-16 from 105. It was enough to get the job done. Jerome Horn had a pair of rushing TDs. And really, the game was up through the third quarter. Game was securely in hand in Columbia. They were up 20-6. If it weren't for a furious Trinity Christian comeback, I don't think that it would have been much of a game. So just some late heroics by the Conquerors, but Tigers still outlast them and are rolling and undefeated right now. So this will be interesting. Tigers' schedule, man, is not for the weak. Coming up at St. Augustine, they host Manatee, then at Ridgeview, Clay, and then Bowles to round out the season. So we're going to find out. We're going to put that undefeated label to the test. But yeah, right now, enjoy it. They've got, I think, another 24 hours until we figure things out for tomorrow on Friday night. Other scores from around the area: Wakulla, big winner over DRS, 48-6. Bluntstown hammers Arnold, 58-22. Suwannee, a big winner. Congrats, Coach Hall, get that first dub, 34-14 over the Trojans. Jefferson County and Coach Bright and company, a big winner as they blank Vernon, 42-0. North Bay Haven, a big winner over Weewood, 37-6. Lincoln falls to Ware County on the road in a tough one, 42-9. Rickards falls to Colquitt County in a hard-fought contest, 31-19. Taylor County, don't look now, but the Bulldogs are probably one of the hottest teams in the area, 35-6. A big winner over Destin. Mosley keeps keeps their winning ways up with a big win over Escambia out in Pensacola. No, excuse me, at home against Escambia, 46-15. Other games, NFC falls to Valwood, 37-21. Franklin County, a big win over Rocky Bayou, 33-13. Scylla Christian, a winner over Beaconton Charter, 20-14. Lafayette gets back on the winning side of things with a big win over Zarephath, 43-14. Cottondale beats up on Lighthouse Christian, 58-24. Walton and Fort Walton Beach link up, and the Vikings get the first win on the year against Walton, 21-18 over the Braves. Baker wins against Rutherford, and man, some frustration going on down there in Springfield as the Rams do not have a win on the year just yet as they fall 27-3. Gadsden County falls big on the road, 49-0 against Clearwater Central Catholic. And man, every time I think about Gadsden County, I think about what could have been because that schedule was loaded, but so was the team at the beginning of the year. But tough goings for the Jags. Marietta falls to W.S. Neal, 55-0. Holmes County, a big winner over Northview, 25-12. And then Chipley, the Tigers, undefeated on the year, a big winner against Jay, 21-14. And I don't know, we got to start talking about Chipley a little bit more, man. They're arguably one of the hotter teams out in the Panhandle right now. Nobody's been able to touch them or run with them thus far. They've been close in some games, but always coming out on top. And their schedule looks pretty favorable, too. I think they've got, of course, they've got huge game, Chipley versus Bonifay. That's going to be, you could throw the records out of that at that one. Tough matchup against Port St. Joe. Then they've got Destin at home. And then they've got an interesting schedule. They round out the schedule with some teams from the east side of Tallahassee, Jefferson County, and then Lafayette. That Lafayette game is going to be pretty tough on the road, no less, for them as we go into week number 6. And, man, there's going to be some good games around the area. We got some classic matchups. We got to start off with rivalry week for Lincoln and Leon. Both teams sitting at 2-2. As long as I've known, as long as I've been around, nobody from Lincoln likes Leon. Nobody from Leon likes anybody wearing green and gold this week. If you got friends on the other side of town, yeah, wish them well, but it's hate week, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, this used to be. I know one time this game was one of the biggest in the state, let alone just in Tallahassee. I remember back a long time. I guess I'm gonna age myself. They had to play this game in Doak Campbell Stadium because there wasn't enough room at Coxfield. It was like 20,000 people in Doak Campbell coming to watch a high school football game. I happened to be there, and I'm not gonna tell you what year, but it was a great football game. Lincoln was the #1 team at the time, and so these two have matched up some great competition over years, and nobody feels sorry for you that your team is not at its best. They're gonna try to win, and no favoritism on either side. They do not care about each other. I look for this game to be throw the records out, and you're thinking the Trojans. They want to feast on the Lions all they can.
Absolutely. This is, that's what you want, right? Mark, you talk about the animosity. That's a good old-fashioned rivalry for a little crosstown, little downtown versus the east side there. But, I mean, this is kind of realistically, gang, this has been a big brother, little brother situation for a minute.
It's been very lopsided for the past 25 years.
And this could be dangerous, especially Lincoln looking for a get-right game, and you go against an old rival. So, look.
Can't take them
look
easy.
Out. Look out.
I think you would have to go back to – you would have to go back to like 97 or 98 the last time. I think maybe 96 or 97 the last time Leon – they were close in like 2004, 2005. They were both coming in undefeated. And that one was interesting to me because I remember people flew in for that game. That's the last time I think that game was like on that level. And Leon, I mean, yeah, I totally understand it, man. Eddie, shout out. I don't know where you watching, but yeah, it's been lopsided. It hasn't been much of a rivalry of late.
Yeah, what? How long has it been? 20 something years?
I remember the
Yeah.
90, I think it was 97 or 96 was the last time.
They
Man,
got real close twice.
Yeah,
Right at the turn of the decade, about 2010. I think it was a one-score game. As I'm looking in the
yep,
archives here, 15-10 Lincoln win. Then in '04, it was a 15-9 Lincoln win.
yep.
And they almost got them in that gang. You talk about dating yourself back in the, I don't want to say glory days, gang, but the district tiebreaker, because Childs
Yeah,
beat Lincoln, I think for the first time ever, to force the three-way tiebreaker, and Leon almost got Lincoln in that tiebreaker that Monday
I was
night.
on the
Well,
sidelines
Monday
for
night.
that district tiebreaker. Yeah, it was literally it was that close. So Leon's been close. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. I'm not. I do think that I agree with you, Juke. Just on a get right game, Lincoln, facing arguably two of the better opponents in the country, in Nice and in Ware County. Ware County ranked in the top 25 in the state of Georgia right now. And sometimes those games they really get you right. They get you ready for the playoffs. You understand how to perform a little bit better against tougher opponents. So Leon could be feeling themselves a little bit. We'll see how they come out of the gate swinging. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's I forget the phrases, but I can't really utter some of the stuff on on this platform. But I do remember all the jokes going back and forth back in the day. So it's hate week, rivalry week. So this is gonna be a good one. Other games, let's move on. Swanee taking on Wakulla. This is a rivalry that goes back quite a ways. Haven't seen both teams this embattled in quite a bit. With Wakulla being at 2-2 and Swanee being at 1-4. Well, I don't think we've seen this before.
well, Swanee needs this. This is district, isn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
this is a district game. So both of these teams need this if they want to make it in the playoffs. And you see the record of Swanee. This will make their season if they could knock off Wakulla. It would make, because they've been struggling, and you get midway through the season and you win a playoff. You win a district game. That'll make your season, and that'll put you in the hunt. I think uh, that's the same district Gobby's in, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be interesting going down to the wire the later part of the season.
Yeah, this is one of the most wild districts. And last year, of course, with these three teams, Swanee, Wakulla, Godby, and then you throw Baker County in the mix, all four of those teams made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Granted, based on how things are going, I don't think that happens this year. But all to say, it's always been close, even contest. I think of the district games last year, going back of the 10 or 12, I forget however many they played, there was only two with the entire district play that were decided by more than 10 points. Every single game was close. Every single game was exciting. And it's a really fun pocket that we have with our Big Bend teams, and then we throw in Baker County. But this one, I think, flies under the radar because they're a combined 3-6. But this could be one of the best games of the weekend.
Yeah, I like it just simply because of where it's gonna be. Anytime you go out to Live Oak, like it's gonna be great atmosphere. But then more importantly, you definitely got the, in my opinion, you just got the proximity of the two schools. Like it's just one of those where you skip over Taylor County, but they're right there. Um, I definitely like to see, what Swanee's able to do with their momentum going into this game. This is just always one where, again, rivalry week, you can throw out the records in this one. But yeah, this will be one because it is a district game, but more importantly, the points matter too. So it's not just how you're winning, or excuse me, not just that you win, it's also how you're winning. So this will be interesting coming down the stretch.
You think we'll get above 80 points scored in this game?
Nah,
80 points.
I see this being a low scoring affair, actually.
Really? Because I could see it like a 45-42.
Really?
I could see both teams going bananas. Cleese going off, Sykes going off.
Yeah.
I could see it. I could whiff on this one, but I'm really interested to tune in. Of course, I'll have to watch it on a little bit of delay, but I'm interested, thoroughly interested. Yeah, I wonder what this was last year. Let's see if I can pull that up real quick without wasting too much time, because I thought it was pretty wild last year, if I'm remembering things correctly. Do either of you have a... Okay, so it's 28-21 last year. No, yeah, 28-21. So it's almost always 24-21, 22-24. Okay, so pretty consistently it's been in the 20s. Something about it feels really offensive this year,
80.
though.
You mean 40, 45? Man, that's a point.
That's my bold prediction of the week, Coach.
Oh,
Give me the over. I'm taking the over.
I hadn't seen one of these offenses put that kind of numbers up.
Yeah, I just like watching games like this, but this is definitely these are interesting districts the way that they're set up, and this is going to be one of those where you're gonna have to keep your eye on it. Other games from around the area, Rickards 1-4, Fort Walton Beach 1-4, and I think this one's going to be on. I think this one's on campus. I think this is at Rickards. I think.
Oh man, that'll be interesting. Fort Walton Beach went into Walton last week and took a victory, and I guess they're expecting to do the same this week. Got their first victory last week. This is a district game also. This is a very interesting game matchup. This is it's going to be tough for Rickers. They can play. They do a great job offensively. They can put up points, but and defense is giving up a lot, and they just hadn't played a whole game. Only on probably when they played their first game against Gabi, but the games I've seen them, they put up 30, 40 points, lost the game. The defense couldn't hold up, so it's on their defense. They can score with anybody, but they need a defense to keep the score down for the other team. Don't match points with their offense. They need offense to put up the points and the defense to hold you down.
Yeah, I thought they did a pretty good job of hanging with Colquitt, especially early, and they were kind of hanging around and got some action late. But that wasn't the blowout that it was last year, them going up to Colquitt again. I thought they kind of held their own. They got the early score. They generated some turnovers. They were holding them on turnover on downs. They were playing a little risky. They like to go for it a little bit on fourth down. But, I was, on the sly, I was kind of impressed with Rickard's performance last week.
They had the opportunity they had some, they had a chance to make a comeback, but they just couldn't get over the hump. I was watching the game also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got to get it.
Yeah, and I think they love playing. If they could get Fort Walton back on campus, I think Fort Walton was one of the first games that they ever played in the Dead Sea, and they rolled Fort Walton back in 2021. I think it was 47-14, but like both those touchdowns for Fort Walton came in garbage time. Rickards absolutely went ballistic. So it looks like they're trying to change history if they can get them back on campus. Or repeat history. Sorry, they don't want. Rickards doesn't want to change anything about that history.
I hope this one is played in the Dead Sea. That's just always a fun atmosphere. I do hope that one day my dream comes true and everybody gets their own home stadium. Nothing against Cox, just it's just nothing like having having your own home atmosphere where you can kind of have games like that. And every time I've seen it, where there's been Lincoln, Rickers, I think I've Leon does it quite frequently. Gobby's done it a couple of times. Childs gets the benefit of it. It's just a different atmosphere. It's just kind of makes or breaks certain things, and I would love to see us get back to that. But for right now, we'll keep the friendly confines over at Gene Cox Stadium. Man, this one's a heavyweight bout. Columbia sitting at 5-0 undefeated. St. Augustine 5-0 undefeated. I think probably half the state's gonna have their eyes on this game. I don't think I do remember back in the day, just honestly, just in the 90s, this would have been a state championship caliber type of game. And it's just I'm glad that they were able to schedule the game, but man, I don't think anybody predicted that both of these teams would be undefeated. With St. Augustine's schedule's been, man, that's been tough. And we've seen the teams that Columbia has played. This one's going to be a title bout for sure.
Man, when you're coaching, these are the kind of games you really get excited about. You can get your team up. It doesn't matter if it's a district or whatever, but it is totally excitement getting the opportunity to play in a game like that. That's all you want. Getting a chance. It kind of measures where you are. Where are we? You can watch the film. You know what kind of team you're playing. And when you get a chance to play an undefeated team in the middle of the season, hey, we know what kind of team we got. And you want to go in there and win. I think this game is in St. Augustine. Mark, where's the game being played?
Yeah.
That's a great
St. Augustine.
That's a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. This is gonna be a fun one.
St. Augustine has had. Yeah, it should be. St. Augustine has played so far. They played Bowles, Riverside, and they got a victory over Nice.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And they went into Nice and beat Nice. Now, this is the thing where I go back to Friday, and some teams where it's just I got mind control over Debo. Being down in St. John's area, I have felt in the past where St. Augustine has had mind control over Nice. It doesn't matter how good Nice is. Whenever they play St. Augustine, it just always seems to go the Jackets' way. I don't know how it is. I just know football has certain rules to it. And you're just some teams, it doesn't matter how good you are, they're just always going to look at you as little brother. And I feel like that was one of those games, but that was still a very tough 28-24. They were able to get the job done, but still, Nice was looking like a juggernaut, and they just shut it down.
Yeah. According to
So I think Columbia's going to have their hands full. We'll see how it works out, but I do like it, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Will McLeod has War Eagles on top 24-21, calling it the 3-point victory. I like it.
There you go. That'd be a fun one. But for Columbia, St. Augustine, for what you take out of the rankings, gentlemen, Columbia number 5 in the state. St. Augustine, number 1 in the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a match.
That would be where I would show up. If I had to have the television truck ready on deck, the 4Q live stream vehicle ready to go, I would
need to get the quarter mobile or Q mobile and ride down there and see that. That's gonna be special.
We got to get some kind of apparatus where we could do like the Booger McFarland mobile with Cofield up top in there, and he's still got all 8 of his TVs.
Got the video board, everything. Yeah.
But you ought to see me on Friday nights. I'm watching games. I can't keep up with a lot of them. I'm trying to watch all these games, man, so I can at least have some understanding what happened.
All right, this one I just for the intrigue alone, Freeport at 4-0 undefeated, taking on Pensacola Catholic, and this one's going to be another good one on the slate of games. I look at how Freeport has been built, man. They have survived the gauntlet thus far, and so far this has been so far for them, this has been an amazing season, a great run so far at the midway point. They've really got a ton of talent on this team. that really flies under the radar. But man, they are taking on a tough Pensacola Catholic team. But so far, I mean, they had the broken scoreboard game where it was 71-60 over Cottondale. Uh, Northview J where they Northview where they went on the road and had to come back win. J North Bay Haven have been their opponents thus far, and this probably is going to be one of their tougher ones. Their remaining schedule looks like this after Pensacola Catholic. It goes South Walton, excuse me, at South Walton, at Baker versus Walton, and then at NFC to round out the year. But this is going to be one of those litmus test games where you find out what you're made of. In my opinion, I think Freeport definitely has the talent to run with anybody. They've been able to, of course, light up the scoreboard as we've seen. But for the Bulldogs, one of the things that I do like about them is that they're, offensively, they just spread the love around. They don't have nobody that is just a single lone superstar. They really try to, outpace themselves. And then we've seen Pensacola Catholic against Godby. They've also played Montgomery Catholic out of Alabama, Providence School, had a tough loss at Pace, and then a big victory over Navarre to open up the season. So resumes kind of differ a little bit, but still I think these two teams are evenly matched. And given the fact that Freeport gets Catholic at home, I think could give them a little bit of an edge in this game.
Mark, this is the game where you're talking about 80 points. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 160 points between the two teams. Man, they're gonna put some points on the board. We know Freeport can, and Pensacola Catholic had some games where they put up like 40 points. So, man, we gotta keep our calculators out and get ready for this one. This should be a good one.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a Big 12 game at night.
On Friday, yeah, Big 12 Friday.
And it's funny because they go about it, it seems not quite polar opposites, but I love a good contrast of styles. Freeport would love to throw it all day and hit their big SEC threat in the middle of the field and all the way outside. And Pensacola just wants to run you down. They want to run it 100 times. So I think Freeport kind of got an idea of what they're going to see as far as like a run-heavy team. Probably the closest you'd see was when they played Northview. I think that'll be kind of a likeness. And Northview, I think, has been the biggest challenge for Freeport, just with that dominant physical run game. Catholic's got some bodies, and that physicality has always kind of been their bread and butter. They're like the Sneeds of kind of that Pensacola area. Just the run heavy, the physicality, but they can sling it too. There was a reason why they're a powerhouse out here. But really interesting now that Freeport's up in the 2A classification about how this could really add a wrinkle into things with it being a district contest. So Freeport, an opportunity to really take a driver's seat here, but it is going to be the biggest tough of the season for sure, going against a Catholic. Toughest test for the Bulldogs, I should say.
Yeah, I agree. And then this one, another heavyweight bout, Mosley taking on Milton. Milton very quietly has gone undefeated. And, this is one of those, in my opinion, where it's just, it's kind of, I think we're seeing the resurgence of Panhandle, kind of that Emerald Coast, Panama City football that used to be so dominant back in the day where, we've kind of see things going dormant where only a couple of, maybe like 2 or 3 teams come out with, it was Niceville and kind of everybody else. And now we're seeing, Pace is putting together good seasons. Milton is putting together a good season, and we have a resurgence of all of Panama City. Seems like this is just one of those games where I'm definitely going to have my eyes on. Mosley's going to put the record to the test, a 4-1 mark, as they have a really tough road battle in Milton. No slouch. I think they've had I'll pull up their schedule in a minute, but Mosley, we've seen them, take the tough loss to Bay to open up things and then really bounce back in a big way to kind of, right size their season. Everything is still in front of them as far as the Dolphins is concerned, but man, they are getting ready to take on a very tough Panther football team that's got some weapons across the board. Um, Booker T. Washington, Crestview in overtime, Pensacola, and then of course Navarre classic matchup out there. All winners for the Panthers, and we'll see how they match up against Mosley. And really, one of the things that's hard, the hardest thing to do with a lot of Pensacola teams is that they don't get out of the area, so you don't really know, kind of what they look like because they all seem to beat up on each other during the regular season.
Yeah, this is a nice matchup. I like. Uh, you'll see where Mosey is playing against a team like Milton. Milton used to be a powerhouse program. Seen them play in the playoffs. Went to state a couple times. Had some great players come from there. Uh, for them to get back to their winning ways, the way they used to be back in the day, as you would call it, would be interesting to see what Mosley does in this game. To see where Mosley is, 'cause after taking that loss, the beating they got from Bay, coming to play a team like Mosley, seeing how they come out. It's be interesting after this game where they are. You know, can they play? Have they improved? Are they about the same? If they lose this game, it won't. I don't think it'll affect their playoff run, but it'll let you know what kind of team they got for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, and Milton, for those who aren't really familiar, Milton's kind of has, once again, relating to Sneed's, a Sneed's feel to him. I love a running quarterback. If by running quarterback, I don't mean dual threat quarterback. I mean a running quarterback. Once again, they're probably going to be at that 5 to 8 passes if things are going well per week. But you look at recent history, and Mosley blew out Milton last year, 42-14, I think was the game. But Milton was 0-10 last year. Milton is very far from that 0-10 team last year. Of course, not just record, but a lot within that. And so if you just tuned in for the game last year, this is a whole different situation. So I'd reset your mind. And I don't think it's going to be quite that easy for Mosley this time around. They get him at home though, right? This is in Lynn Haven, or this is in the area for Mosley.
No, this is going to be on the road for them.
Oh, they're at Milton.
Yeah, let me double check one more time. I gotta look at the schedule. We always want to make sure we're accurate here at 4 quarters on. No, they're at home. So they were on the road last week, so they're at home this week.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Mosley, this is I think, between at Rickers, at Navarre, at Escambia, for them to go 3-0 in those games, that really shows a lot. They get Milton at home, although Milton is undefeated, no slouch. You do get them at home. Then they got to go on the road to Niceville, then Arnold, and then back at home against Gulf Breeze and Florida High. So everything is still in front of Mosley. I think these are all winnable games for them. It just really depends on how they can hold up, against, I wouldn't say unfamiliar opponents, but definitely more stout competition. But yeah, for the Panthers, everything seems to go through Caden Hall, averaging 88 yards a carry on the ground. And, for him, just to be kind of that leader of the offense, Mosley has faced, I think this is their third game where they faced a dynamic running quarterback. So they should be familiar, or at least defensively they should be familiar, but we'll see on Friday. Let's get into the other slate of games from around the area. South Walton taking on Walton. Seahawks sitting at 3-1. The Braves sitting at 2-2. Franklin County taking on Graceville. FAMU DRS hosting McClay. Holmes County sitting at 2-3, hosting Chipley. It's Chipley versus Bonifay. That's a game, y'all. We got to look out for that one. That's always a huge rivalry. It's rivalry week. You got to get it in. Port St. Joe hosting Bozeman. Weewa will be taking on Cottondale. Jefferson County, they will be on the road at Hamilton County. Arnold will be hosting Choctaw. Choctaw is undefeated and looks like one of the better teams out there in the Panhandle right now. Bay taking on Pensacola. The Tornadoes looking to avenge that loss to Madison last week. Rickers taking on Fort Walton Beach. Bluntstown undefeated taking on W.S. Neal out of Alabama. I just got finished talking about Columbia taking on St. Augustine. Both teams are sitting at 5-0. Childs taking on Impact Christian right now as we speak. Liberty County, I will be taking on Sneeze as they will host the Pirates, sitting at 2-2. Sneeze sitting at 3-1. Godby hits the road going down I-10 to take on Baker. Both teams are sitting at 2-3. Mariana hosting Rutherford. Mariana sitting at 1-3. Rutherford is still winless, looking for that first dub on the year. Gaston County winless on the year, where they will be taking on the First Academy out of Orlando, one of the top ranked teams in the state. Lafayette taking on Wildwood as both teams. Oh, excuse me, no. Lafayette sitting at 4-1. Wildwood sitting at 1-3, and then winless Vernon hosting Lighthouse Christian, looking for their first win on the year, and that will do it for the week number 6 slate of games. I am looking forward to it, man. We got some interesting rivalries on deck this week.
Yeah, that's what you want. Middle of the season, teams getting a chance to see how good they can be, and rivalry week, and that's big for high school kids. I mean, you talk trash all year long just for this one game, and if you win, you can keep talking trash. If you lose, you just shut up.
And that's the beauty.
So,
I was just gonna say, just to put an exclamation part on what Coach was talking about. That's the beauty of it too. I know, coming from back home, the Washington area, there was one season that they went 2-14, but they beat the Cowboys twice, and they chalked it up as a winning season. It was a great success. So I think a lot of teams, not just quote unquote saving their season, but it almost feels like you can double the points or double your victories when you can take down the rival. So they play the games. We think we know what's going to happen, but excited to see the action. There's always some surprises on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. That will do it for this week's edition of the Extra Point. If you missed it, don't worry about it. Just run it back on YouTube. We talked about your team. I promise you we did. We got some teams hitting the road this week, and we got some interesting rivalries coming up. We will keep everybody's score, whatever, intact on Friday night. We have the 4Q scoreboard show. We'll be coming at you with updates from games across the area. But that will do it for the Extra Point. The Thursday edition, we'll catch everybody next Wednesday night at our regular time. Until then, get out, go see a football game, support your local team. We'll run everybody down on next week's games next week, Wednesday nights. This is the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams and my two partners, Coach Cofield and Andrew Jew. Shout out to Eddie. We'll see everybody next Wednesday.